All right. Okay, so it makes sense. Um, the last tree, the Scion tree. If you could just go through the abilities and share the thoughts, it would be awesome.
Yeah, well, the free skill that every cable gets, Psychic Haze. The damage on it just quite frankly sucks. The area also sucks. The slow is good, but it's basically Gene's lethargy and maybe hits probably about 1/30th the size and significantly less damage.
Hmm.
All it's useful for is basically the knockdown to like break channeled abilities like Magneto's Metal Storm. But it just needs to hit in a bigger area and it needs a higher base damage basically for it to be desirable
Do you ever
because it's go ahead.
do you ever use it like on your F3 button to knock people down or?
Well, honestly, I don't just because my damage and healing is so high that I can just ignore most damage in red terminals.
All right, yeah. But
Next, go ahead.
yeah, I thought it. But I think it's just a filler skill until you get Vortex Grenade. That's how I used it. But
Yeah, it's a good filler skill. It and barrier both filler until you get Vortex, but Vortex just outclasses both of them.
so yeah, let's go ahead with a Kinetic Repulsion.
Yep, kinetic repulsion, as I showed earlier, is this power. Basically, just knocks everything back that runs into it, except for mobs that have like ignores negative conditions, and then bosses will go. Well, certain bosses will get through it. Also, you can knock back certain bosses around with it, which is funny. And it's also, I don't think it's a specific bug with it, but mobs that have the haste or move speed auras can actually run through your bubble even if they don't have ignores negative, which is kind of annoying. But it's basically the same, well, mostly the same as Jean's Kinetic Tempest or a Scarlet Witch's Bubble, which I forget, Tropic Warding. The only difference being it's mobile and it constantly knocks back, unlike Jean's, which
Yeah.
just has the initial knockback and projectile deflect.
Yeah. What I also noticed is though is that it still has a casting animation. And do you think they will make it instant like they did to the one with on Jean?
Well, the thing I'm sort of worried about is if they do make it instant, they're going to do the same thing they did to Jean's, where it only knocks back on the initial hit, which I know pretty much upset every single Jean player.
All right. Yeah. So it's you have to recast it the whole time to push people back and not.
Yeah, the problem with it is just the low duration. Because, I mean, Cable is still, it's like one of the few characters, him and Scarlet Witch, that just have a redundant amount of synergies. Which is basically the main thing holding back Kinetic Repulsion as a skill, where it still has 2.5% duration synergies. And then, next power on a Cable, Psychokinetic Barrier, which is this. I have to get a piece of gear because I need points in it. What this does is it basically is a barrier. Obviously, it's similar to Human Torch's barrier. I forget the name of. It leaves a damage dot. Oh, I guess that's kind of redundant. Damage over time. But it leaves a dot behind, and it deflects projectiles. So there's something on their side, throw stuff at it, bounce back, hit them in the face. And the thing that's interesting about kinetic is that if a mob just stands in it, the dot does not get reapplied. They have to physically move inside the barrier for the dot to be reapplied, and the dot actually does not match the duration of it. So like this barrier, it lasts 15.6 seconds, and I think the dot on the enemy only lasts about half that amount of time. So like if you have a stationary boss, such as phase 1 of Doctor Doom,
Yeah.
you have to constantly recast this basically every 8 seconds because he doesn't move in it, so the dot does not get reapplied, it just falls off, which is probably my biggest complaint with the skill.
All right. So then you lose a lot of your utility or your damage by casting it.
Yep, you lose a lot of this by having to recast it.
Yeah, exactly. That's going so fast. All right. Telekinetic shield. That's we talked about it. It's really good. The defense
Yep.
percentage. Yeah.
This little golden bubble, the sonic ring. Yep, it's basically just a big damage mitigation tool. It's one of the strongest defense buffs in game. It takes me, well, here when it wears off, I'll tell you what it takes me.
How long is your duration on it?
My duration is 19.8 seconds.
Alright.
But yeah, it takes me from 4,321 defense, which is a base mitigation of 35.9, to 10,103 base defense, doesn't count specific types, which is a huge increase in mitigation of now 54.8% less damage
Yeah, that's significant.
on a ranged character with huge damage, not a tank.
Yeah, that's yeah, we're not using the word OP, but it's really strong. All right. Techno-organic reconstruction, is that ever viable? Is that giving you enough health return back?
No. The health return is decent-ish, I guess. But the problem with it is I don't have any points to demonstrate it or, well, taking any damage. But the problem with it is that it's a root, it roots you, and it's basically a channeled heal. So, like, if you get hit, you lose the healing, and, well, you take all the damage you just healed back. That's basically the problem with it. It roots you, and it's channeled. It needs to be made like a Miss Marvel's Photonic Regen, where it has the instant heal, then the heal over time, or Wolverine's regeneration, not his Weapon X, the passive one, but his active one. I forget the name of it, where it just restores him so much health over like 3 or 5 seconds. I forget how long it is. It basically just needs to be made into a heal over time and not a channeled route.
Yeah, yeah. As you showed with the wall, with the barrier as well. Every time you have to cast something, you miss out on a lot of your DPS.
Yeah, whenever you stop using this, you're basically doing very little damage.
Yeah, exactly. Makes total sense. Mana resilience is just to break free. I see it gives you a short duration of immunity, but I doubt that's worth it.
Yeah, I just have 8 ranks in it from plus all skills, which is a 3.7 seconds of immunity, which is actually a very long time on certain fights.
Yeah. Alright, and then the last skill, Psychic Trap. Have you ever used it? What does it do?
It's good burst damage, but the problem with it is I don't have any points in it. But it has a longish cast time. I think it's like at a base 1 second cast time. So I mean, you can just check out this, which does minus rank 38, and it does 2,501 damage per tick. So that's what 5,002 damage per second. Compared to Psychic Trap, which has a 1 second cast time, and it's just nothing but pure burst damage, nothing sustained. It's not viable. They need to like significantly up the damage and reduce the cast time for it to be a good AoE burst damage for clearing trash. Because
I want to see you kill a dummy.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go there, and then I can talk about the ultimate. Well, I think it's one of the most. Wow, look at those numbers.
Yeah.
That is a lot of quick numbers. What was that 42k there?
The 42k, that was most likely a Hyper Viper Beam proc critting. Because the HVB proc is a bolt that does 9,437 to 14,156 damage. And since it is affected by eye and it can crit, that would be probably where that 42k comes from. Because, yeah, eye makes it do 60% more on the top end, so that's a little over 21k. Then when it crits, so yeah, be close. That's probably what that 42k was. That's actually the only thing it could have been, because I know the Mandarin procs aren't that high.
Alright.
But yeah, all those 10k plus numbers, those are energy pulse.
Yeah, that's sickening. Awesome.
Yeah, and then these little ticks, that's Flames of the Faultine, which is a very strong artifact.
Yeah, we got to the gear very soon. First, I just wanted to show the Body Slider Braum, which is his ultimate. I found this very cool that you summon your future self and you explode him.
Yeah, the thing about that is actually nerfed the duration when they lowered the cooldown. Like, wasn't that big of a nerf. Mine went from like 6.5 second stun to 5.8, so I mean less than a second duration, but also cools down 10 minutes faster, which is a glad trade-off. But the damage on it sucks. That's pretty much it.
Right. It looks like a lot, but it's only a one-time. It's a one-time damage burst, right?
Yeah, mine's rank 4, and it's 27,000 to 40,000 energy damage, which my energy pulse does more than that in 1 second. It's just not good.
Do you think it should be as like a signature move, and then the scythe has his ultimate move, or something else?
If I had to pick between signature and ult, I would definitely move it to signature. Just it'd be similar to Spider-Man's signature, his amazing smash. Just you wouldn't get the dodge, but you'd still have the stun and the big damage burst.
Yeah.
There is no time for delay.
At least I think it's called Amazing Smash, is Spider-Man's signature.
That's an excellent new trick.
They basically serve the same purpose, AoE, stun, and damage.
Yeah.
Only mine cools down 10 minutes, and yours is like, what, a minute?
Yeah, it's 1 minute. You can get it lower with you don't get you cannot lower it points as far as I know. But
yeah, it's not a good ultimate. I think the only time I ever really use it is just for stunning on the initial phase 2 of Doom, just for free damage. That's about it.
I'm always ready for trouble.
So without further ado, I would like to go through the gear choices, and yeah, the relics. I think it's base damage, range power. Just as it calculates best, or
no, Xandar is not a good relic. It scales horribly.
Right.
When I did the math on it, I forget how much damage at 990 or how much damage rating a stack of 999 gives. But once you apply for the coefficients, 999 Xandar relics only added I think 45 damage to energy pulse and 44 to vortex grenade, which is terrible.
Alright, so what do you use then?
I use a relic of Lemuria for the healing when you deal damage.
Alright.
And the reason I opted for Lemuria was because it allowed me to basically min-max my damage. Instead of using a lifesteal core, I was able to use a 1 energy and 1 fighting core, so I'd get the unearthly fighting bonus and then amazing energy, which is basically 5% more energy damage, and since all Cable's main damaging skills are energy damage, it's a significant DPS boost over using 1% more healing. And I mean, Lemuria, right now it doesn't keep up as much as a 1% core does, but I think the break point I figured out was like you need like, I think it was like 100 or 120 Lemurias to oops, that was my ult, to outheal a lifesteal core, so it's a very fair trade-off.
Right. So I have 72 stacks of Xandar on Cable, which are wasted.
Yeah, I think I had only 44 before I switched over to Lemuria.
Right. Let's quickly go through the artifacts so I can walk away in shame. Which artifacts do you use?
I currently use Advanced Flames of the Faultine and Advanced Meta Sensory Array, as they are the biggest DPS artifacts by far. Like on my on my little spreadsheet for my personal stats, Advanced Meta accounts for, I think it's like close to 11,000 damage per second on just energy pulse.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah, and Advanced Faultine, I think it accounts for close to like 6k because it's multiplied by your energy stat and eye for weakness and the energy synergies.
If you would use a normal meta sensory and an advanced one, which you can do, is that better than having one in advance of each?
No, Advanced Meta and Advanced Faultine is the biggest DPS return. The second biggest was double Faultines using a normal and Advanced Faultine. Third biggest DPS return was double Metas. Then the fourth biggest was normal Meta and normal Faultine.
Alright.
But once we have 4 artifact slots, then yeah, going double Meta, double Faultine is the best in slot setup.
All right. Medallions.
Mandarin is the best choice, and it's not even close. Wizard's good if you want raw damage rating,